All right, everybody. Today, Cabral HouseCall number 1. We're going to be going over 5 of our community's questions. Can't wait to dive into these. If you want to see these questions, read right along. Head on over to StephenCabral.com/3487. That will be today's show notes. Yes, and let's dive right in. First question is from Sarah. Just pulled up my document right here. Wanted to make sure I was on the actual podcast for today. As I always say, there's no prep work done for these. It's literally like if you were at the Reimagine Health Summit with me and we were just chatting and you said, hey, and you gave your question, I'm going to give you my direct answer from now over 25 years in clinical practice, helping hundreds of thousands of people with their health and fitness and wellness and anti-aging. All right, Sarah's up first. Let's see what Sarah has to say. Sarah says, hello, back with another question. I'm a 28-year-old female from Scotland and have hair growing in places I shouldn't since age 24. The hair under my chin and a bit on my neck and cheeks is what gets me down the most. My doctor checked me for PCOS through blood work and said everything was fine. I recently did your hormone test. Testosterone was great. Estrogen was good. Progesterone was low and cortisol was low. I've been on progesterone support, adrenal energy, as well as DNS, daily fruit and vegetable blend, omegas, etc. for some time. I also take pumpkin seed oil and saw palmetto extract. The hair just keeps growing. What else can I do? I've tried countless rounds of laser, but it just returns. Is hair in this area always related to PCOS and hormones? Can it just be genetics? Thank you. Okay, so I always want to give you the actual like straight truth as well. And it doesn't mean always that we love the answer, but I always think that it's important that, you know, we understand where these things can be coming from. So I have helped, 70% of my practice is women, about 30% men. And so I have seen almost all of these particular issues before, and certainly this one. So what I want to share with you is that there looks like there's one remaining thing to still balance out with your hormones, and that is the lower progesterone levels or relative estrogen dominance, okay? Even if testosterone is normal, because I agree with you. Typically, we have, like women have higher androgens, and I didn't hear about your blood sugar, and they often have imbalanced blood sugar or insulin levels above a 6. If you ran your stress, mood, and metabolism test, which I believe that you did, look at the insulin. Is it above a 6? Look at the hemoglobin A1C. Is it above a 5.5? If there is, we still have work to do on blood sugar balance. Okay, the next part is that we need to work on, if estrogen's normal and progesterone's low, we're going to do a progesterone support, 3 capsules with dinner. And then we're going to make sure if we have low cortisol that you're doing that adrenal energy in the morning. However, that really we're trying to improve sleep. That might be using full spectrum magnesium at dinner. It might be using adrenal soothe at dinner. It might be using liquid melatonin a half hour before bed, whatever we need to in order to get 8 solid hours to really bring down stress on the body. So those are the big things that I want to do. And then we can also look at DHT conversion. Sometimes in women, it is actually stronger and it can create more hair growth and it can create actually thinning on the top of the head. If you have that as well, then I would really look into a potential DHT issue. And you're using, I think you said saw palmetto, which is great. We have a product called T-Quench. I believe it's called T-Quench. Yeah, it's something right around that. But what it does is it blocks testosterone to dihydrotestosterone and helps women with a lot of these particular issues. You could certainly use that prophylactically as well. And then, yes, some of this is genetic. So women typically with darker hair, more from Mediterranean or Middle Eastern based locales often have thicker heads of hair, and they have darker hair often on their body. This is something that is a generalization, yes, but we see it play out all the time in our practice. Women with lighter hair, straighter hair, more of the pitta body type, they shouldn't say just pitta, but they have less body hair in general and lighter. So there's a bunch of things to work on there, and then we can follow up, and hopefully this is helpful. All right, let's see. Larissa's up next. Larissa says, hello, I was exposed to black mold 6 years ago. All right. Hello, I was exposed to black mold for 6 years, about 5 years ago. That's my fault. I read that incorrectly. Although my most severe symptoms went away, some linger. I've been working with a naturopath whom recommended a protocol with cholestyramine, charcoal, and minerals for about 1 month. However, I read Andrew Campbell mold protocol and he recommends itraconazole for 7 days. I did my urine mycotoxin testing, FYI, which still shows a high load of most strains. What do you recommend? I get rid of all mold with at least side effects, avoiding constipation. I already have to take magnesium to have bowel movements. Thank you. Okay, happy to help with this. So you probably didn't run the mold mycotoxin testing through us, which is totally fine. But if you did, you would see that you don't want to just do a 7-day protocol or a 1-month protocol. That's not how to get rid of mold. So you can run a 4 to 8 week. Ours is 8 weeks. So I would look into the mold detox protocol by Equilife. You can just find that at stephencabral.com/shop. All the protocols are right there. That's guaranteed to work. We use that all the time in our practice. And that's because we have the benefit of lab testing, right? So we benefit the mold and mycotoxins. We run the mold and mycotoxins testing, which anyone can do, simple urine test at home. And then we complete the 8-week protocol, but you also should be on the daily foundational protocol plus immunity protocol. And that's because even if you would do the medication that doctor recommended, that doesn't boost your immune system. Remember, your immune system needs to take over to be able to fully eradicate mold and not have it push you towards Th2 immune system dominance and a lot of other issues like, urticaria, et cetera, with hives, et cetera, et cetera. But just like you said, you need to remove the source ideally first, and then begin the protocols. All right, Larissa, hopefully that is helpful. Sabrina's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I'm hoping you can help me with something that's super frustrating. My stomach craves large meals for satisfaction, yet they cause bloating. Conversely, small volume meals, despite being calorie dense, just don't register as filling, leaving me wanting more. Is there a way to solve this? Meaning training your stomach to be satisfied with smaller meals. Thank you so much. Yeah, and so this is, remember, everybody can ask their question at cabralsupportgroup.com first. And then we're going to share with you, I've now done almost 3,500 podcasts. And so I did a podcast basically that said, what happens if you're still hungry after eating? So like if you're hungry within 90 minutes after a meal, it means 2 things. 1, you did not consume enough fiber, or 2, you did not consume enough protein. Almost always. Because also, though, you're right. When you eat more, it stretches the stomach. That usually sends signals of satiety to the brain. Great. I'm going to give you a trick on that in just a second. The second is, if your body did not get enough to stimulate in Ayurveda the 5 tastes, but also keeping blood sugar balanced, your body may crave more. So, and again, I just did a show on list last week on kind of how to food stack and how to order the foods, all of those things. This might help you really well, a lot. Let's see if I can get you that show number in just a second. So episode 3484. All right, Sabrina, eating the food in a certain order. I don't know what the title of that show is going to be, but we'll put together a title. But basically this, you don't have to have a big breakfast. It should be, easily digestible, all of those things. But for lunch and dinner, try having a salad first, like an arugula salad, a mixed green salad, maybe a little bit of apple cider vinegar with olive oil on it. So we're going to just kind of set the tone, and that's going to take hopefully like 10 minutes to eat. So we're going to slow down eating. We're going to really chew up the lettuce leaves. Not a lot of calories, right? But it's fiber rich. It's very dense. So a couple cups for sure, 2-3 cups of that. All right. But also we start chewing in about 10 minutes or so. Usually stomach acid takes about 20 minutes to start to produce. But after 20 minutes, we start to get those satiety signals. All right. So next though, you're going to have a good amount of protein, typically for most individuals between 4 and 8 ounces, whatever works well for you. Remember, 6 ounces times 7 grams is 42 grams of protein, and that doesn't even count anything else in your plate. So like it's a good amount of protein, even though it's just a handful, right? So we're gonna have a handful of protein. We're gonna have more veggies in there, maybe a little sea salt for taste as well. Always feel free to squeeze some lemon or lime. No calories, but a lot of taste and acidity there. That can give you a nice taste as well. And then if you need, of course, starches, some root veggies there. So just start there. We teach this inside of IHP. So again, like we kind of teach it everywhere. It's definitely on podcasts as well. But that's going to really help. So hopefully it's a place to get started, and then feel free to write back in if you'd like. All right. All right. Lisa's up next. Lisa says, I'm a 48-year-old female and I have elevated kidney function, 1.1. I've been told not to take creatine. I've heard multiple times that too much protein can have an effect on kidney function also. I'd love to work out, and for my age, high protein and creatine is supposed to be good for someone who works out. Will these things truly hinder or further hinder my kidney function? Okay, yeah, happy to help. So creatine monohydrate and non-excessive protein intake, which we'll just say like up to 1 gram per pound of body weight, like a healthy body weight, it should not be an issue. However, if someone already has compromised kidney function, then I agree with you. Yes, higher levels of high protein purines and high uric acid forming proteins can certainly be challenging on your kidneys. There's no doubt about that. And it's recommended, of course, by nephrologists to be on a lower protein diet. But for most individuals, let's just say you weigh 140 pounds. Okay. So, if we just take an easy math of just half your body weight in protein per day, it's 70 grams of protein. That's going to be adequate for most individuals. And if, we really look at it, we say, okay, well, let's not just look at, a 0.5. Let's look at, I talked about my other podcast of really how much you need. Let's just say it's more like a 0.6. So add another 14 grams on to 74, you're at 84 grams per day. And that's what I give most of my clients. So you're going to be somewhere between 70 and 90 grams of protein a day. That's plenty of protein. It honestly is. You can eat more. It's not that you can't, but that's plenty of protein for anti-aging, for muscle building, etc. More is not always better. Okay. Now, the reason why people tend to eat more protein is because they're on a lower carbohydrate diet and they're trying to make up their calories somewhere else. And I don't disagree that higher protein, not low carb, but lower to moderate carbs is going to be better for body transformation, but not always for health. Okay. Creatine monohydrate, again, is not going to affect your kidneys unless you might have kidney-based issues. It needs to be filtered by the kidneys. So what I would say is I'd look at one of those two variables first. If you're already doing that for your protein, then and by the way, your levels are kind of like borderline. I can't give you medical advice, medical treatments, medical cures, medical diagnosis, but you probably want to run something like EGFR and see if there's like real deeper kidney-based dysfunction. And then also you might want to, again, this is totally up to you, but if you're like, I really want to take creatine monohydrate, you might try it 3 to 5 grams a day, and then rerun your blood work after 6 weeks and see if kidney function is worse during that time, if no other variables changed. I also have a whole show on how to improve kidney function, chronic kidney disease. I would definitely check that out. You can find that at stephencabral.com/podcast. If you can't find the show, just write in at cabralsupportgroup.com. We'll find the shows on how to improve your kidneys with everything from foods to nutritional supplements to even wild things that you'll just have inside your pantry, such as baking soda. All right. Cassie is going to be our last question of the day. Cassie says, I just completed your book, The Rain Barrel Effect. I was wondering if you have worked with anyone with eosinophilic esophagitis to successfully get them off PPIs. I've dealt with histamine intolerance that I've actually been able to reverse through a lot of what you teach in your book, and I've gotten down to 20 milligrams of omeprazole twice a day to 20 milligrams once every other day. But if I go longer than that, I find myself choking on food again, no matter how little I eat or how well I chew it. Totally understand. And you're actually, if you're watching this on video on YouTube, and hopefully you are, and so you're a subscriber of the channel, I had this myself. You're literally looking at someone who had eosinophilic esophagitis. And so I was on Prilosec, like literally was on it from, I think it was 16 years old to 19 years old or so. And I had to fix exactly what you're talking about. I had to fix histamine-based issues. I had mastocytosis, mast cell activation syndrome. And what I had to do was fix my gut, and I had elevated levels of mercury in my body. I don't know what your underlying root causes are, but how I found mine was running the Big 5 lab test. Now, again, I'm fortunate enough to be able to offer that to people today. And so if you want to find those, it's at stephencabral.com/big and the number 5. And if you can't run all of those, then just run the starter kit. It's called the vitamin tox test. And you can find that at stephencabral.com/starter-kit or just stephencabral.com/shop. We'll take you over to all of those. But we need to find the underlying root cause. So for me, I had massive leaky gut. I had candida overgrowth. I had H. pylori, and I had bacterial overgrowth in my gut. I had to fix those. I also had high levels of mercury. I had to fix that. And when I did that, not only did I get rid of my acid reflux, I had to remove my food sensitivities as well. I was very sensitive to cow's milk. I knew I was sensitive to gluten, so I had to remove that. But I was sensitive to cow's milk, even whey protein for me, cow's milk, whey protein. So, and that helped tremendously. But again, it wasn't one thing. It was, as you read in the book, emptying my rain barrel. And it didn't go away overnight. This took about 6 months to 9 months. And then it gradually went away. My allergies were so much less. And then within another few months, probably like one more allergy season, which for me was like April, it was completely gone. No more allergy medications back then, no more any of that. And I was on it all. Like I was on the Claritins, the Zyrtex, the Singular, Benadryl at night. I was on it all. I was on the handful. And I wondered why, like I had accelerated heart rate, I couldn't sleep. I was on a cocktail of medication because that's what conventional medicine does. It's not the answer. It's a Band-Aid based approach. What I like to offer people is a true way to find out what the underlying root causes are. And that's through integrative health at-home lab testing. That's the truth. All right, hopefully this was helpful. I appreciate all of you being a part of this amazing community that we're all trying to move forward, trying to move this movement forward. So as always, do feel free to share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. And I'll be back tomorrow answering more of our community's questions. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.